switch off your phones. And welcome, everyone. Welcome to this meeting, to this dialogue on work, on young people and the dignity of the person. The theme of the meeting, you know it. All that you have bequeathed you by your father, earn it in order to possess it. Goethe's phrase. Many times we speak of expectations, dreams, and young people have many of these. Statistics, we won't delve too much into statistics. Many people are unemployed, and yet the weight of unemployment continues to weigh on our country. Maybe this is because not everything can be explained by numbers. The same statistics from Istat are the best proof that for the benefits of the political government of Forza Italia. Emilia Guarnieri, the president of the meeting, wrote, "What does a young person experience when we talk about earning what they possess in terms of work?" For many years, we have spoken about recovery without really realizing that we have made promises that are difficult to maintain. The behavior of the approach of a young person in the working world is often a behavior, an approach of discouragement. Of giving up, and they don't have hope. The Italian church is a right to be worried. We will speak about this social week that will happen at the end of October, organized by Pope Francis. The first speaker on the panel is Mauro Magatti. This is his 6th meeting. You know him well. He's an important sociologist of the Catholic University of the Sacred Heart in Milan and secretary of the scientific committee and organizer of the Italian Catholic Social Weeks. What does our country, what kind of risks are involved for our country if we continue to go on the way we have been? Thank you for being here in Rimini. Can you hear him? No. It is always a great experience to be here and to be welcomed here and to be immersed in this experience. Thank you for letting me be here. I'm here certainly because I have this responsibility that I share with the President, Msgr Santoro, who will be present later on, and with Francesco Occhetta, who is part of the same commission, because at the end of October, we will have this appointment, a very important appointment for the Italian Church, which is an appointment for Catholics. We will meet to reflect and try to make new proposals for this, what we can call an emergency, this situation, especially as regards young people. Let me say one or two words on this social week. because I would like to create this connection between Rimini and the Social Week. It is a very important event in the history of the Church. They are moments in which we speak about concrete issues of social life with the ecclesial realities. And we dialogue with society. We try to start a dialogue with the social reality. This year, as in the other editions, we want to underline that the Social Week is not a meeting, a conference. We have already worked with the parishes, with the movements in these months. So the days in Cagliari where the Social Week will happen will be an analysis of this data, and we will make proposals, launch proposals for the future. And hopefully after Cagliari, we will try to find effective responses, effective answers for the problems at hand. We have the problem of reports, to show that reports are important. To show that we will also show how the singular individual stories are important and go into particular case studies. There are small, specific solutions that have to do with relationships with the local community and the local territory that can be worked through. The idea, our idea is to multiply these initiatives, and the theme of making proposals to try and resolve the question of work. So the paradigm is to collect the useful actions, initiatives already in place and launch new proposals. So it has already been said that in the introduction that work is a very important issue in our country, and not only our country. I would like to make 2 points in my intervention. My first point is, it seems to me that the situation in Italy can be told as a story made up of 3 generations. There was the generation of my father, the post-war generation, that had a country which was in ruins, which was still quite marginalized from international affairs. It was a generation that made big steps and brought much richness and much wealth and generated many opportunities, many work opportunities. Then there was my generation, which was the baby boom generation, in which the history of the well-being, the phase of well-being and wealth and consumerism began in Italy. Our generation lived very well. We had many opportunities. We had the possibility to have an overall good quality of life. But did our generation realized that our legacy gave us a couple of problems. We had less children, less work. I realized that in Italy, we have to try to rethink this situation of young people's employment in this historical perspective. We need an extraordinary effort. We're not in an ordinary situation here. We need an extraordinary effort that may avoid conflict between generations and may instead create foster alliances between generations. I often quote this statistic. When did the problem start? It was in the 80s. In 1980, the net national debt was the same as it is today. And the old people were the bot people. They were the ones that had invested. They had a good income, and they did not help the economy as much as they could. We are a country that, with my generation, stopped thinking about the future. It refused the idea that wealth must be built, must be constructed. We must invest in people. We must invest in initiatives. We must risk to go beyond what we have, because we are too easily brought to settle for what we have on the wealth that we have found in our hands. Why do I say all this? Because youth employment has, in fact, a cultural problem beneath it. We are a country that has sat on its laurels for too long. We have to altogether put work at the center, which means put at the center of work the human ability to create something beautiful. I am not against work. I think of work as something creative to create wealth and well-being, which be a factor of human benefit as well as social benefit. And I think that fiscal policy must recognize this value, this human value at the center of work, highlighting this movement more than all the others. Today, if a young person graduates and hopefully he may be able to get an 800 euro wage, and he has to also pay for rent. It is simply impossible. This is the average statistics. Therefore, rent in this moment is more expensive than the normal first wage of a normal student who graduates. So we're simply a society that doesn't work as a team. Too little, a part which is too little of the population uses its resources, and the ones that are using their resources are not able to do so. This is the problem. Otherwise, we continually try to use a band-aid to fix the situation, but we'll never get out of it. This cultural change, therefore, if we want to exaggerate this, we could say this conversion, because this is a conversion. We need a conversion here. It is almost as if we need to wake up out of this consumerism that we were born into. This is my second point, and then I finish. All this has to be based on the following conviction, that not all work is the same. There is bad work and good work. There is productive and unproductive work. There is work that generates wealth and that doesn't. Work which is exploitation. So the amount of work, the places, the number of places available are related to the quality of work. This is not true. It is not true that the quality of work is linked to the lower qualifications. It is not true that the amount of work is linked to the low qualifications. Work is created and numbers in work are created if at the center of work is the human capacity to create wealth. It is a good work. It is good work that creates wealth and creates well-being. Good work is what should be at the center of our economic policy. Good work. And in a moment like this, it is important that good work be sustained, supported by an extraordinary effort. We have to invent a way to transfer the resources in the form of savings, financial savings, in immobiliary goods. We need to transfer this wealth to young people. We have to change legislation and policy so that the situation not be blocked, but begin to move again, and to sustain all the young people who want to put themselves into the game. There is a need for an extraordinary effort so that this situation does not die in the debts, and to begin again, to start a new cycle of improvement and well-being and work again.
Thank you very much, Magatti, for your intervention. To focus on the important issues of today. This is a big challenge now of our country in Italy. The church is not afraid. And so this is why we have chosen this issue for the society in Cagliari. I want to show you this book, Il lavoro è promesso. a work is promised work. The church talks about how work can be something creative and free. Francesco Occhetta, a Jesuit, he's got a very long CV. He has a vast range of interests. In the book, which talks about what the event in Cagliari, how can Italy create where the church wants to go? Thank you for inviting me. Since you are so many, it's very emotional for me to talk in front of you. I was very happy to be invited to this. So in these four characteristics that Pope Francis had mentioned to define the human work, he says that there are human works and non-human works. How can the church act in positions of politics and in the public? It is as if that we have to act as if we are to act creatively. And a participation with God. Even if there's even if we are participating, sometimes there are moments of humility that we need to face. We will have moments of which we want to give up, in moments in which are inhumane. For example, the traffic of weapons, the abusing of young workers, child labor, the ones that don't include disabled people, the ones that are underpaid. This is something that humiliates our dignity. This is what's something that increases the conflict in our society, but also to increase competition. The human work, the gospel tells us what they are. They're the ones in which others are a point of reference. Because my I always needs a you. It's to see the context of which we are in and to see which human work we should be doing. Because at Reggio Calabria there is one need and at Trento there is another one. It's the territory, it's where we are that grow our needs. To look at the Good Samaritan, someone sees a need and decides to develop and grow with that need. For us, this is the criteria. It's not a theoretical criteria. We have to come back to this dimension of these criteria. In 1981, the church had created a way not to defend work, a social doctrine not to defend work. They had given up the public space, the work of children. The church was trying to defend the people who had no voice. I believe personally that we have to start from this point. I have a political school I manage, and there I had to learn a lot. Because my generation, if you cannot listen to the young people, we have categories that we talk to them and they don't know what we're talking about. Even of the work that we do now, my generation, the flexibility that we have is almost something that is not so valuable, is a disadvantage. There's a beautiful exhibition that has been done by the Compagnia delle Opere. There are 23,000 people employed in Italy. %46 of these people have changed jobs because they desire something new. They had new competencies. Soft skills is a new word. But there's something that lacks in the new companies. But what if the religious orders But what lacks in these companies is the spiritual aspects. What it lacks is that one person is the path to arrive to something. Our gaining our way to earn it in order to possess it is to be able to listen to the young people. Because when, for example, if we look at a telephone call, hi, my name is Adele. If you need me, I'm available. And there is no trust in this phone call. He says, okay, he puts down the phone straight away because of fear. %65 of the kids these young kids are looking for work. And in this way, they actually emigrate. On these people who have immigrated, only 20% have been graduated. Last year, 258,000 people were told that they were not qualified to work. So this doesn't make sense. And people say that there is a lack of demand for engineers, workers, marketing. There is also a lack of people who can care for people. But there are minimum conditions in which we need to respect and we need to know. Not all works are humane. Work is now conditioned by or defined by 7 big disadvantages, difficulties. There is work with no responsibility, which is offered to people and then it's also given to people who don't have the level of competency to perform the work. And sometimes there are incomes that are not even being distributed. And also work in which is unemployed. I will close saying this. For me, it is fundamental that these people without work can be in some way cones that we can be protagonists of people who we should actually hire. This can be accepted in a democracy or even an ecclesial movement. Our tradition is not public of the state. We come in as a human and go out as a person. We are there to be in company and to tolerate, get along with the person. And this is what the communities which
Negano le libertà, parlano con leader.
We cannot accept populist solutions. We need solutions that are human. So we relaunch the intermediary entities that allow for cooperation between communities and communion. The charisms of everybody should not be competition but enrichment. We have to live diversity as an enrichment. Think about competition that we have had in the past, treating other people not as others as enemies and not collaborators. I have done all this work listening to young people because, in fact, they create work. I have a testimony of this. In the cover of the book, we have a seeder sowing seeds. We have the parable of the sower. 3 of the seeds die, but 1 does not. 1 out of 4 is very much as a fourth, generates work and generates a new way of living together. Thank you very much to Francesco Occhetta that showed us a great empathy into the situation. Thank you for having introduced us to the situation. You are a Jesuit, and also a journalist. Allow me to speak about my own work now. I have been coming to the meeting for the last couple of years. Years ago, I met Msgr Santoro, which came as a friend of the meeting, and he came from very far away, from Brazil. And he was telling me about his diocese, which was living social protests at the time. And he was telling me about a church that wasn't afraid of getting its hands dirty, as it were, but wanted to protect the rights and the value of the life of the worker. I thought these are South American issues. They're different to us. They're far away from us. But Filippo Santoro then arrived as Archbishop of Taranto here in Italy after this. I wrote another article, Taranto is red, communist. From his experience, the question is the same that we asked him years ago. How do you think of, how can we convert, how can we imagine or try to think of a way to convert the whole country? Thank you. Straight away, let me say thank you on behalf of the whole of the Scientific Commission of the Social Week. Thank you for welcoming me on at this round table and of presentation of the meeting in Cagliari. This is a work that we are trying to bring about together. Before I pass on to the main theme, I want to talk about the people that died in Ischia. And I would like to say a prayer for the children that they are extracting at the moment. And we entrust them to God and to Mary. Then, as you heard, Magatti and Father Occhetta, they're both members of this commission. They're very good, as you saw, very able, very skilled, and very clear. We wanted to start a communal and synodal work with university professors, social workers, politicians, etc. And then I'm in the mix. I only remember faces of people. I don't have statistics or numbers. I only know the people, the faces of the people that I have met. I have 2 types of people. People who come come crying about the situations to do with the environment and that have caused serious damage and to the health of their loved ones. And then a second category of people that complain about their unemployment and the lack of work. It is here that the interest for innovation to find new ways, new roads begins. After half an hour of speaking to me, they said to me, "Your Excellency, this is not, thank you for being here because you listen to me." Listening is not only hearing, but letting the other person's dramatic situation, welcoming the other person's dramatic situation and sharing it with them. This made me become straight away involved in the situation of unemployment and the environment. A young person married with a young child has to worry about how to make ends meet. And I think of these people when I go to the social week. We have to respond to these people. I have 200 CVs in my briefcase. Most of them are graduates from college. I know that it's not your affair, but can you help us anyway? I say at the social week. Or they say to me. With 50 deputies in front of me at the social week event, and I say, "Excuse me, you've all done done your work. Can you please help me to get rid of these 200 CVs, because at least you'll have helped me do something for myself, for my own work, because I can't do it by myself." And then one of our friends stands up and says, "This is trafficking. No, this is not what I wanted. I don't want recommendations by you. I don't want recommendations on your behalf. But I want that this be a legal journey so that these people may not be recommended or preferred illegally. It shouldn't be a favor, but they should be legally helped." This is the reason why our social week in Cagliari begins is based on the faces of these people. I don't try to resolve the situation of these young people. We have insisted on the community as a motor of mobilization and innovation. We have tried to dialogue with the diocese. And we have made videos on the good practices for creating something new. This is already underway. It is not a dream. The work that we want is not a work, but it is beginning now by experiences that are already underway and not by talking. In the Episcopal Conference, we have brought this work ahead. We haven't stopped at, we haven't been blocked by complaints, but we try to develop work. In the context of the meeting, I have felt the necessity to speak about the meaning of work, because it is great. It is a big dimension. I was reading The Eye, the Power and Institutions of Don Giussani. A sincere respect for work we cannot be tranquil for this. We can't be calm because of the situation of work. It should not let any of us be tranquil, be calm in front of this, because it is serious. A man only can know himself if he is in action. Only being in action, he can know himself. If one is not involved, one is more easily lost and loses the meaning of life. We must do everything to work towards finding a job for everyone for this reason. And the starting point is the need. And a structural aspect of the human person. It is important to understand why all of the aspects are usually partial, the ones that we talk about, whereas the word need is the only one we should be talking about. It talks about the live person, the person with its needs, of a humanity that has been given a push within that we call heart. The fundamental pillar that Giussani talks about is the person in action. If inaction is not there, the second part of the phrase is not there, then we are talking about the lack of a possibility for a person to be realized, to find its satisfaction. The need that we have within, that the Bible talks about, using the word heart. This means the religious sense is the ultimate factor of the human need, and therefore also the need which is work, the need for man for work. The purely technocratic living system, societal living based on technocratic means is inhuman. For a scope of mere production, all of this calls to a reduction of human nature. We need man to be in action, not in a metaphorical or philosophical sense, but in a concrete sense, because this link between work and religious sense is based on the relationship between God and the infinite. It is through work that man lives his relationship with the mystery. Integration won't happen if we don't help immigrants to realize, to satisfy his needs, and also the need for work. In each one of us, we have the same needs. And he continues, because all people need to be respected. to be helped because they are workers and because they are beings that are called to love Christ. And in this sense, to love Christ and work are the same, because work is the expressive means of the relationship that man has with God. It's a means of expression. The centrality of the person that works, the participation in the creative work of God, but also that the work be saved, it is necessary for work to also be saved. San Giovanni Crisostomo spoke about the rights of common people in front of the emperor. You are the salt of the earth. It is entrusted to each one of you, the ministry of the word, not for you, but for the whole world. I'm not sending you to the whole world. I'm sending you to the whole world because it is corrupted, saying that I say that you are the salt of the world. Man has been denatured and corrupted by sin. It is the strength of the apostles that you need to make a change in the world. Without this, your efforts would not have full meaning. We are talking, therefore, of work that has dignity. Unworthy work and worthy work helps to to build people, to build families, to build the communities. Unworthy work destroys humanity. We've already said the situation that I have summarized is the birth of worthy work, of work that is full of dignity. Pope Francis invited all of the popular movements and at the third meeting I went as well. The cartoneros, the collectors of cardboard, were there. Another one from Brazil. And Pope Francis calls them because the syndicalists were also present. Italian, Spanish. Your work is an informal economy. No, we don't have an informal economy because our economy is populist, is a popular economy. Someone from Bangladesh stood up and said, how could it be formal? If I have to give a part of my wages to the state, this is not formal economy, but it is state economy. Because I said, of course, I'm a bishop and I have a work that is full of dignity. I listen to the people that come to me, and this is a work full of dignity because it helps other people to work, helps other people to live. But you yourself, your work is also full of dignity because man has dignity. because he is in relationship with the mystery, because your person is full of dignity. And he almost felt like hugging me after I said this. Maybe you think I thought maybe only about my family as a dignity, as a worthy part of my life, but you're saying that also worth is a part of a worthy part of life, and that the person is a value and worthy. Work that is worthy develops in various ways. An aspect that I would like to underline is work that helps to create life, to respect the environment. This is our problem in Taranto, but it's also a problem in all of Italy. If one destroys the environment, this is not a worthy work. All of this insistence all the work we are doing is so that a new work that respect the environment and at the same time guarantee more work, further employment. The Calenda Ministry is now doing his conference. And I will speak to him later on. I would like to conclude simply quoting what Cardinal Parolin communicated to us. And before this, I would like to refer myself to young people, because the central point is a fusion between school, university, and work. Now they are disconnected, especially in the south of Italy. People finish university and then they also go outside, they emigrate for university and after university. We have positive examples, and there's also a very interesting work for the foundation of this foundation of subsidiarity by Giorgio Vittadini. The sense, the meaning of the social doctrine, with in mind the encyclical of Pope Benedict and Evangelii Gaudium of Pope Francis. We have listened to the proposal to the ideal of recovering a real new youth. How can we cure this spiritual Alzheimer's? To go back to the first love, which is not a discourse, a speech, but it is a person. This secures this makes the future solutions possible. The waking up of this first love, how can this happens through the church, the life of the church, through a multitude of witnesses that after many years announce the arrival of God and help us to relive the experience that we had at the beginning. The week of Cagliari has as its center to propose a new work, a work that is full of dignity, and to put at its center the meaning of work. But all this needs something that comes before economics. from politics. There must be a before. It can't only be words, which is in the words of the Pope. The reasons for life. The reasons for life indicate solutions for the future. The meaning of life suggests new solutions. At the meeting, the first love is what is woken up. The meeting is also the great antidote for this spiritual Alzheimer's. We would like this week together, and we want this week to be an antidote, and as well as the social week in Cagliari to be an antidote to this social Alzheimer's, spiritual Alzheimer's.
Thank you so much. Because today we have a very good understanding of what will be anticipating. We've got a good understanding of what will happen in October. The speakers today have been extremely helpful. I'm just going to focus on one point, which I will ask for them to comment on. The president had made some very complex statements. Gentiloni had admitted to make very restricted kind of interventions to try and consolidate the Jobs Act. And this is very indicative for the need for work. What kind of judgment can you give, Magatti, on this point? I'm in agreement with Gentiloni in this point. As I had recalled before, there is a big need to make an agreement between the generations, even in fiscal ways and for the institutions. I'll be very brief in this intervention. The countries are kind of like a transatlantic if we had to imagine to guide a ship, we are asking for an operation that will take time. We come from a period of time which has been sustained by a stable income. And then, as a last resort, there was the issue of work. And as of 2008, this obviously collapsed. We have to change this. We have to rechange this direction. Not just in a practical sense, but in a human sense. How can a man develop himself in this world? How can someone participate involving their own value And then as a secondary thing is the products, the consumption of things. That comes last. This is the theme in the last 10 years that has been debated about. And they're slowly changing their direction in this way. This step, as Gentiloni has explained, is going in this direction. But it's necessary to reset the country in this direction. Thank you very much, Magatti. This is the same issue that I want to direct to Father Occhetta. I'm going to ask to recomment on also Gentiloni's, the Prime Minister's words. In what jobs and what aspects of work? How can this be promising? I'm so happy about what the Prime Minister had said. We have to understand if this is a bomb, a ticking bomb, a band-aid. We have to talk about the two main things about the family and the school and the education.
Work cannot be created by the state, as we said. We must speak about the conditions that the state can offer so that work can be improved. So therefore, bureaucracy, fiscal policy, the difficult time spans regarding the judicial system. Smart working and co-working are new jobs for young people that are being designed by young people, and in 2020, so therefore in 3 years, will be 10% of the whole of the 10% of jobs in general. Tell us a little bit better about this smart working. Smart working and co-working are new jobs that are enabling for the working times and places of work are different. People can work from home and with different working hours. What is the novelty? There are jobs that are not protected that are beginning to arise. The worker is not an employee. We are talking about workers now. If we continue on this wavelength, we will arrive in a situation where we have less workers that are protected and will be excluded from this system. These new jobs are very flexible, but they also need a cultural change. It can't be something extra, but it must be a surplus, an investment in also regarding working hours. There must be new working hours instead of working hours to be wages decided on the basis of working hours, they should be decided also on the care in work. Thank you very much. I cannot give a political judgment, but I ask him to assess the promises of Gentiloni. I ask Francesco Santoro, I'm directing this question to him, as well as the most direct initiatives. There is also an educational side to all this. Yes, there are two aspects. One is more fundamental. The origin of this cultural conversion that we spoke about, and of this communitarian involvement. This is possible. We need a communitarian effort. When I met the responsibles of the CISL, is it possible to find the energies, as Pope Francis said, the CISL we need a new starting point, a new origin for what we said on work. It is the quality of life and the reasons for life that begin a cultural change. And at the time, I said to the people of the CISL, you started from the social doctrine of the church, even if you are a lay organization. Go back to the origin of that new, different vision that looks at the person, that loves the person. So this is what I find that is the most important. We must be promoters of a personal conversion, and that this be clear in every gesture, in every gesture of creating new jobs, to create a new, more human context, as well as they must not only be theoretical premises. This is the heart of the perspective, the prospect. It is in this event in Cagliari, we will put together members of the Catholic Church, but not because this is only supposed to be directed and thought by Catholics, but and done for everyone. It is very important what I heard yesterday. Vittadini said, but you haven't taken sides. And I said, yes, this is exactly the first objection, to the way things have been going so far, the fact that we don't take sides. I would say that we cannot but say thank you to our guests and invite you to participate and know about the event in Cagliari. I invite you to go to the exhibition in B1. There will also be another exhibition which will be made by the Foundation for Subsidiarity, which will be shown in Cagliari, and will speak about the themes that were touched on today. What is important is that we give an answer to the young people who read the title behind me and that ask themselves, what legacy, what has been bequeathed us? The Week in Cagliari will give answers. Thank you very much to all the guest speakers and for being on this journey. I also remind you that it is possible to contribute to the building of the meeting through donations. You will find the stand Dona Ora. Donators can go to the stand directly and communicate their donations. Thank you very much for your attention and have a nice week at the meeting.